Starsand Island just launched in early access on Steam and Xbox Game Pass, and I was able to play the game earlier than the early access, actually a week early. So thank you so much to the teams at Starsand Island who provided a key for me so I could get this video out to you, help you know what to expect when playing Starsand Island. They do plan the full release for 1.0 to be launching in summer of 2026, and that launch will be on Nintendo Switch 2, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X and S. In early access, Starsand Island is going to have a launch discount 30% off. The base game will be around $27, and the deluxe edition at early access launch will be $41.93. Then at full launch, which is set for summer of 2026, the game will no longer have the early access discount and instead will be full price at $39.90 for the base game and $59.90 for the deluxe edition. So what is Starsand Island? Starsand Island describes itself as a relaxing pastoral life sim, and you can hang out with cute animals, you can romance, you can get to know the townsfolk, but the main gameplay seems to be really about advancing through 5 professions: crafting, farming, fishing, ranching, and exploration. And I went into this game thinking that it would be pretty similar to other farming sims that I've played, but honestly, it doesn't quite feel like it is. So let's get into it. We're gonna go through the gameplay, the mechanics, the story, the characters, and my thoughts so far. Usually, I play about 15 hours of a game before I put a video like this out, but with this game being so slow paced, I've played about 7 hours and I do feel like I have an idea of what this game encapsulates, but at the same time, there is still so much more to discover with Starsand Island, and with it being released in early access, I might want to wait a little longer for some things to be done and more polished before I actually really dive into this game fully. So please keep that in mind while you're watching this, that I am giving my first impressions review and my thoughts might change later on, but I will keep you updated on my page, so make sure you subscribe to my channel. And without further ado, let's get into the gameplay and mechanics. The core gameplay loop includes doing profession requests for the townsfolk. There are certain NPCs who essentially represent different professions in the game. There's a lot of crafting in this game. There's caring for animals, running around the island, mining and exploring, and your experience in the game really does depend on which professions you prioritize first. The game recommends that you choose crafting, so that's what I started with. And yes, there is a lot of crafting in this game. There's a lot of different makers that you're constantly building and needing more of, and then there's all the forageables and items that you need for that as well. You can work on multiple professions at once, which took me a little bit to understand that I could change what quest I wanted to be working on, because you might get at kind of a block on one where you're like, okay, I'm gonna need to grind a little bit more to continue with that profession, so let's move on to a different one. You can do multiple quests at once and kind of hop between professions, or you can just really focus in on one at a time if you want to. But doing more at once might mean that you can progress more within them, because you might need crafting to be able to progress in some of these professions. So doing those profession quests seems to be the main gameplay mechanic, which I think is really important to note, because a lot of the time the main gameplay mechanic is going around town, talking to people, and farming and planting crops and things like that, where this game more so focuses on doing these profession requests. You can unlock rewards and achievements as you increase your knowledge and you find new items in town, and you'll even earn money from accepting those rewards in your menus, which surprised me because in most farming sims, you're usually shipping out a ton of things in a shipping bin in order to make money. So this game rewards you just as you progress naturally through the professions and through finding items and just kind of hitting different achievements in the game. And with the way that it functions with all the menus, the skill trees and things like that, it almost feels like more like a game like Heartopia, but single player, than the feeling of something like Fields of Mystria or more of a classic farming sim style. The controls, let's go into that because I have played both mouse and keyboard and controller and I had no problems. I thought that both were fine. There are pros and cons to both. Because I started out with mouse and keyboard, I ended up going back to that because I just prefer it, but I haven't tried it on my Steam Deck, so I can't say if it's played well on there or not, but I will say controller did work and played just fine for me, as well as keyboard and mouse. Combat. There is combat in the game, and it's not really avoidable, which I had thought it would be, unless you avoid the exploration quests, which I think you'll end up needing. But there are even boss fights, which I was really shocked by. And honestly, I haven't been able to get by the first boss yet, but that could just be a me thing. So in this game, you're exploring the forest, the moonlit forest, I think it's called, and you will unlock different areas as you go along. So it has some similar mechanics to mining in other farming games, but it definitely feels different. You can unlock more and more areas of this forest as you go along, and some of the doors will need to be opened by hitting enough rocks and then finding this little shiny guy who goes up and basically marks the next door, and if you find 3 of those little guys to open the next door, then you can enter it. Then you kind of have this new little realm to explore, where there will be new monsters and new ore and resources that you can gather there. So it definitely did feel fresh and different, but it also felt a little slow and tedious, and I felt like using my pickaxe and using those things, it did feel a little bit tedious and slow. And the days, before I get too far along, the days are so long. They are probably 30 to 40 minutes long. I never timed it, but it's like a whole day takes a long time to get through. You have plenty of time to do things, but it also makes the pacing of the game feel a little drawn out, like I'm just not progressing as fast as maybe I'm used to. So that was something that did shock me. So I hope that from my experience, you can, if you're planning to play this, you can go in and be like, okay, here's the expectation. I play a lot of farming games. A lot of them have very similar mechanics and loops, and I felt like I would go into this one kind of expecting or thinking that's what it would be too, but it is not what I expected. So far, I've been having a lot of fun finding cute animals, meeting the NPCs, playing through the professions, doing the quests, and they're easy to follow. It shows you exactly where to go on the map. Found the map easy to use, but at the same time, I also felt a little bit lonely in the game, or feeling like I'm missing a sense of why am I working on this profession. And I didn't feel a lot of cohesiveness with the town, and feeling like the NPCs were looped into it as much as I hoped. After picking up the first profession quest, I felt like I wasn't really getting a feeling of like community in the town, like I feel in some other games. But I did realize later on that what you prioritize in the game is up to you, and it's so easy to get roped into just doing the quest progression because that's what the game kind of pushes you towards. More recently in the game, I decided I would go out and pursue and try to really get to know the townsfolk a little bit more. So that's what I had been doing, and I think that did help a little bit more. But I did have a sense of feeling like a little lonely in the game, like wanting there to be a little more cohesion with all of the elements and all of the features of the game. And I feel like they've been really hyping this game up with how the NPCs interact with you. They can memorize that you gave them wheat one time, and they'll talk about that. And so I was kind of expecting a little more from them, but I'm getting carried away. Let's move on and talk about the story and the characters, because it sounds like that's what I'm getting into anyway. So the story. As the protagonist, you return to your childhood home to build a life there. I kind of expected the story to take the lead on this game, because I've seen the cinematic trailers and I thought that it would be more present in the game in that way. And when you do start the game, there is a cinematic trailer that plays out and you're part of that. But once you get started actually in this game, I feel like the story is not front facing as like the major part of this game. The game is really about leveling up these professions, kind of like Luma Island, if you've ever played that game. Obviously, Luma Island doesn't have romancing, it doesn't have some of the things that this game has, but it definitely feels more like, oh, let's go out and let's continue to achieve this goal, this goal, this goal. and master our profession. It seems like that is the big gameplay loop portion of the game, and that's the purpose of the game. The rest of what you do is up to you, whether you focus on more quests completely or you make your way romancing characters. I found that the characters, I don't know, I didn't feel like they had a lot to say, but I'm hoping that as we bond more with them, that there will be really cool cutscenes and things that go more into their personalities, backstories, and all of that, because I think that just ultimately makes me feel more immersed in the town and the life. And we do get these really cool cutscenes every time we meet a new romanceable in the game. So on that initial meeting, there is like a cool cutscene that kind of introduces the character and gives you the vibe of them. And I loved that so much. And I want more of that. And I think that you guys need to listen to our podcast or watch the clip that we posted, because we get into all 3 of our experiences playing the game. And my friend Peyton has played a lot more than me, and she has a whole gameplay video, so go check that out as well. But on our podcast, she was discussing how she had at least 4 hearts with all of romanceables and still wasn't getting new cutscenes. So that makes me feel pretty disappointed. But at the same time, the game decided to launch in early access, so I guess there are just a lot of things still missing, but it gives me a little bit of doubt at the real release date of this game for 1.0 being in the summer, because how are you going to mix in all of these things by summer? I mean, maybe they have a pretty big team. I don't know, but I am a little concerned about this game being delayed for 1.0 again. But so far, they have really good and really cool ideas that I like, and I'm really curious and yearning for more from the game. Moving on to something a little different. When you faint in this game, it doesn't seem like it's a big deal. I didn't lose items that I know of. I don't remember if I lost time in the next day. But honestly, if I did, it wouldn't matter because the days are so long anyway. They're almost like too long, making the pacing feel very, very slow to me, but it's not all a bad thing. I think a lot of games might be too fast-paced for some people. Now, jumping into the graphics, the art style, and just the presentation of the game. I love the art style. It's very pretty. It feels like a huge map, almost feels open world, and there's a lot to explore. I love the cute outfits, and although I don't know how to unlock a lot of them just yet, I will say that the mechanics for hairstyles and outfits were a little annoying at times because I wanted to customize my hair color. When I put a different hairstyle on, I would have to go and select the color for it again, as if it didn't know that that was like the color I wanted it to be. So it was a little wonky in some of the like character customization settings once you're in the game. But I mean, all the stuff they have is so cute, and there's going to be so much to unlock that really represents yourself or just how you want to be presented. So I do like the character customization. I like the art style. It's really cute. The performance of the game, there are definitely some bugs, but the performance overall has been fine for me. You can rollerblade, you can skateboard, you can ride this bike around, like motorbike around town, and it is really, really fun and really cool, and I found the game ran well for me, looked well for me. I didn't come across any major bugs that felt unplayable. Actually, early on in the game, I felt that the game felt pretty polished and not like early access at all, but the more and more I played, the more I did feel like it was early access, and there were things that I didn't really know what to do. Like, there are certain days of summer where there's this letter that comes in the mail saying that you should go down to the beach and you can see the stars or something. And every time I would go down, there would be nothing there. And I would get this every once in a while. Also, listen to our podcast because Peyton talked about the festival, how she did all these quests for the festival at the end of summer, and then there was a lot wrong with the festival and not a lot to do. So very, very interesting things to note. And I think some of the quests were also bugged, but for me, I felt like I'm not always good at picking up that, oh, this is a bug, that's why I can't figure this quest out. So moving along in other quests is just kind of what I continued to do. But the overall performance of the game I thought was pretty good. There was another bug, though, that I did experience with the voice acting, where sometimes when you'd meet a new character and you'd have their cutscene, they would speak in English, and other times they would speak in Chinese. It seemed like something was not right there because I don't mind if all the voices are in Chinese, but I figured that because some were in English, that they're trying to have all of them be supported for a bunch of different languages. So that was something that didn't seem like it was right to me. But I do think the voice acting adds a lot to the game, and I'm glad that they're working on that. The music in the game, it's not the worst I've ever heard, but it does get a little annoying after a while, and I ended up muting it and just playing lo-fi on Spotify because it does get a little bit annoying. And like I said, the beach festival comes at the end of the season of summer, which is you start in summer in this game. And I didn't get to that yet, but I was excited about it because I felt like it would make the game feel more alive. Still excited to come across that, but because the game is so slow paced, I feel like it's gonna be a while until I get there. I also want to mention the map of this game. I did say it's big, it feels open world. There are really beautiful, cool places to explore, really cute little animals you can meet, and I love that. I like that the map lets you track wherever ping you select on it, which helped me get around town a lot, and using like the rollerblades or like different contraptions to ride on made it so much faster to get around. I just found that the farming and the ranching was pretty easy to unlock early on, but it doesn't really feel like those things are like the main focus of this game at all. It's just kind of there. There's also then a building mode that comes in later where you can completely build your house, and that is introduced in the game, but it's something that's going to take me a while to unlock. And I don't need that really. I think it's really cool, but I am like almost a little nervous to get to that point because that seems like a whole nother new mechanic to unlock and play around with. So we'll get to that when we get to that. Which I think will be really cool to customize things even more. But like I said, because the game is so slow paced, some of the quests start to feel a little grindy, and a lot of the game is about just unlocking, achieving things, and upgrading your skills, and then ultimately mastering your professions. So I'm curious to see what they add to this game, how they do early access, because this is a very quick turnaround from launching it on the 11th of February and then having it fully released in the summer. Maybe that is enough time, but I am really curious what you guys will think of the game if you pick it up, and it definitely wasn't what I expected it to be, which is not a bad thing. I think the game stands on its own, it is unique, but there seems to be a lot of work that still needs to be done, and it feels very slow paced. But for what it is fun, and it does have a lot of content. At this point in the game, there is still so much to upgrade, so much to unlock, and this game definitely gives you a lot to do. You're never wondering, oh, what should I do? Like some other games that I've played before that feel almost too open-ended. This game's like, well, do your quests, do this, do that. Look at your menu. You have this, you could achieve that. You could grow all of these cucumbers and unlock this and forage that. And you get like these little achievements in the menu for all of those things that you find. But I will say, compared to a newer farming game that I've recently played called Halcyon Days at Taoyuan, I did feel more immersed into that game's story, into the game's characters, the way things were unlocking. It was just kind of the way things were introduced into the game that made it feel more immersive to me, where this game feels more like I'm playing like single player Heartopia, where I'm trying to figure things out, but there's nobody else around that's a real player to play with me. But they also have romance and ranching, so not quite like Heartopia, but it felt like it a little bit to me, because you're working on leveling up your professions, kind of like hobbies, and you're doing quests as the main part of the game. In the end, what I am most excited about is seeing them polish the game more, definitely with the romanceables and the town and the festivals, but most of all, I am excited to master the professions, which seems to be the main part of the game that I didn't quite realize before I played this, that it's more about doing these professions than actually living your little farming life. So will you be picking up Starsand Island? I will be continuing to play the game, so look out for some streams from me, and I'll be sharing my thoughts as I get farther along. Please subscribe before you click off of this video, and hopefully I'll see you in my next YouTube video. Bye!